something that I say along the way will touch you. I know it. Let's begin that process of crafting a meaningful life.
Here's Mary Crafts.
Welcome back to Crafting a Beautiful Life, a meaningful life, an amazing life, because this is your opportunity to step forward and to say, you know what? I'm tired of the same old, same old. I want to step into my very best life. And that's what we do every single week here on Crafting Your Meaningful Life. And the reason I added the ing at the end of that, when I first put the title on this, is because it's an act of doing. It's something that's ongoing. It's nothing that you ever get to and then say, dang, that was great. I crafted my life and now it's smooth sailing. No, baby. It is an ongoing thing. And that's why I come back every single week, because I'm still learning and you're still learning. And so let's do it together. Today, I bring to you an amazing guest and one of my dear friends for really a long time, a couple decades, I think, Jessica Devenish. And Jessica, I want to welcome you to the podcast, you brilliant woman.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, Jessica, you and I first met through a company called Corporate Alliance, and we were one of the few women CEOs in the group. Most of them were men, most of them male-dominated kind of stuff. And when I first started, I was the only one. And then when some of you guys started coming along, I was like, yay, more women who are living their best life. And when I knew you then, you were running a different kind of agency, and that's kind of had been your life for a long time. And then all of a sudden I look over there and like, what's Jessica doing? And what happened to her company? And what is she doing? And your life is completely morphed. So I want to start with that. I want to start with what you did for so long in your life and with your family, and where it's changed to now.
Yeah, well, change is good, right? So in 1997, I started a debt collection agency with my dad. And because he had owned a collection agency in Utah in the 1960s. And he sold that company. I worked for him when I was 15. I worked there for a few years before he sold that company. And I stayed after he sold the company. And it just wasn't the same for me, right? And so I left and I was doing some other things. And in that interim, I had clients come to me say, it's not the same since you're not there. And I'm not happy. What should I do? And I didn't have the heart and soul to refer them to a competitor. So guess what I did? I started my own collection agency. Literally, that's how it was born. So my dad's non-compete was up and I went to him and I said, I want to start a collection agency and I need you, because he's my greatest mentor in business. And so we started a collection agency. We bought one that was already established in Orem. It was a small one. We bought it. And at 25 years old, I had my first baby, bought my first company, all in the same week. So I started that company and I ran it for almost 20 years, bringing on my mom and my other sisters and my husband.
Right.
And gosh,
it was like, this own little quorum down there. You were just like, in Mapleton doing your thing.
Yeah. So then we moved to East Bay in Provo. And I mean, we had like 70 employees at one point. And I absolutely loved what I was doing. And we added credit card processing about 4 years in, right? Just because that was a need that our clients had. And so it was an add value. It naturally kind of happened. And then fast forward, almost 20 years later, I just had a need for a change. And I couldn't really explain it. It was really hard for me to leave my family. I loved my team. I mean, there was lots of things that led up to that change, but in my heart and soul, I just knew I was ready for something different. And my family, we had a 7-hour partner meeting on just what is this going to look like when and if you leave. And a lot of people say, well, what's the real reason you left? I'm sure working with family is terrible and hard, and there's got to be a real reason. And it wasn't any of those things, Mary. You know.
I know that. You love your family. Your family are still tight.
Yeah, we're neighbors. So we all live by each other. We all work together. And that was frankly the hardest thing for me.
Yeah.
The reason why I think I was able to do it so naturally is because my husband and I, we both left together and worked together. So that bridged that gap for me. But I will tell you, I was really sad for a good couple years because I felt FOMO, first of all, right?
Yep.
And I just missed my people, but I just knew. So Kelly and I took the credit card division, and my family kept the collection agency. And, there was a purchase and exchange between us that worked out beautifully. And that's how I got to credit card processing.
So, and I think back when I left my company and retired, that was the thing that I had maybe the greatest fear about is that I wasn't going to see them every day.
Hmm.
And suddenly I was not going to be important in their lives anymore. They were still running this very, tight knit, close family thing, except I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And that is a big fear
Oh,
that you
at
have.
Sunday dinner or
Uh,
at your family together, because our work and
yeah,
business, our work and family
are the
life is
same
all the same, right? And so you're talking about work, and so then it was like,
all the time.
oh gosh, I feel so out of the loop,
Yeah.
and that was
So
weird.
when
That was weird.
we have one rule at family dinner, and that is that you can talk about business because it's always on Sunday, and so Saturday night for us in the event business was a big night. You can talk about it before dinner, and you can talk about it after dinner, but during dinner,
Hmm.
there shall be no talk of business.
That's a fair rule. That's a fair rule. I
Yeah,
don't know that we had that many. I don't think we're that strict about our rules. It just kind of is. Sometimes we'll just say, let's not talk about work right now. That's
yeah,
so, but
yeah,
we call each other out and hold each other accountable and say, hey, we really need to talk about this, or let's not.
yeah.
Let's just not talk about that. So that's been a shift for me. And but they've been. I mean, I go to the office. They invite me for like little parties and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's
I get
been
to still go in, yeah.
yeah. I left in 2014, so
Wow,
it's
you've been gone
been
that long?
uh-huh. And I think in part of that,
Wow.
I wanted to write books and coach and teach. And so I think that was part of the not knowing it at the time, Mary, but I think that was my pull. That was my pull to really like, I felt this itch for something different. And I felt like I had reached all my goals at CheckNet, and there was just something more for me. And I didn't know how to explain it. And now I can see it.
So I really want you to explain it. Because I think that's one of the things that as we talk about this evolution and growth of our life, that sometimes people feel this just like exhaustion with what they're doing, but they don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
And is it just like, okay, I just got to remotivate myself. I got to get a hold of the things I started this about. And, I have to stay here because what else would I do? And they don't know quite how to interpret that dissatisfaction with where they are. They don't know quite how to interpret it.
Yeah.
Am I afraid to retire or what? So I think that piece that you learned about paying attention to what you were telling you is a critical piece for people to learn. So how were you able to let go of the judgment of being dissatisfied, let go of the judgment of being, wanting to move on and really tune in to what was best for you?
The hardest part about that for me was I was so happy where I was. Like I was so proud
Mm,
of where I was. I loved what we had built and created.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I knew that there was just this deep pull that I really didn't understand. There was some exhaustion from the industry itself,
right.
right? I mean, debt collections is a really tough industry. And I had been doing it since I was 15, technically, when I started working for my dad. And then, self employment, you just kind of get your butt kicked a lot. And I was 25 when I started the company, remember, with a brand new baby.
Yeah.
There was a lot of exhaustion, you know. And then in that interim, I my brother-in-law was killed in a car accident and we adopted
Ah,
my niece and nephew.
I did know that.
So there was, I think, just burning the candle at both ends for a really long time. Um, and I felt some exhaustion with the business itself, but leaving the team was hard. Does that make sense? So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, there was just like this pull I loved coaching and teaching my staff, and I was asked several times by my clients to like come and, because if you've
Huh?
ever been to our office, Mary, right, our culture was pretty awesome. It's a debt
Yeah.
collection agency, right? So you got to make it fun. And we did a really good job at that. So clients would come to our office and they're like, I love your culture. Will you come work with my team? And so I was doing a little bit of that. And I was like, I was really loving that. It was like a new
Yeah.
passion, a new love. And so I was like, I think I want to do more of this. And so I felt like this pull for something more. And I think listening to the pull, I guess, would be the best advice, right? That little voice, that little nudge, staying curious and be like, what is this telling me?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that some people are afraid of that. And
Mm-hmm.
because they're afraid of the change. They're like, listen, I know this life. I don't know that life. And so I better just stay put. And that really leads us to the crux of what I want to talk about today. Because you are the expert, I feel, on change. And there's this concept of change and the evolution and growth. You and I both know that if you're not growing, you're declining.
Yeah.
And we both know that it's part of our life always. If you're not changing and you're dying. So I have a lot of people ask me, Jessica, Mary, so when are you ever content? So let's talk about that. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, my dad always instilled in me that the only thing permanent in life is change. At a very young age, especially in entrepreneurship, like you
Yeah.
got to be prepared to pivot when you don't expect it. Like you got to be ready. So I think he just kind of made me an agent of change. You've heard the term change maker.
Hmm.
I love to be a change maker. You could be a victim to change or an agent of change, right? Now,
I love that.
obviously, change is far more fun when we're driving the boat. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
likes change when you're like, wait a minute, I am not okay with that.
Right.
So, as an entrepreneur, we get to be the change. If we see something that is, you're going to hit this brick wall, guess what? You better pivot before you hit the brick wall. And sometimes it's hard. I've lost a lot of great people in my business because they were adverse to change. They saw change as a threat.
Uh,
You've seen it, right? People
yeah.
don't know how, like, but really change, in my opinion, is kind of like if you see a need, fill it, right? If something's not working out, what is the definition of insanity? Right?
Over and over.
Oh, yeah. So it's like for me, change is just like, I don't know. I just think it is a burst of new life.
Yeah.
Even if something is really good, what if it gets to be great? Like you're saying, maybe people are asking why you're never satisfied. Oh, I'm satisfied. I'm very grateful for all the blessings and beautifulness of my life. And guess what? I'm grateful for what I have, and I it's okay to want more. I think if you give enough grace and gratitude for what you currently have, it leaves room for more. I love that I want more. I am always creating new businesses and doing new things. And I love it. It fuels me. I can't imagine not having change and doing the same thing.
Yeah. The thing I know about you, Jessica, is one of the things I also know about me. And that is that wanting more does not necessarily what most people equate it to, which is money.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not opposed to money. Money allows me to do a lot of things, but wanting more in my life is never what I say in my brain. I want more money. What can I do? I'm like, I want more adventure. I want more new experiences. I want more love in my life. I want more service in my life. I want more family. Whatever it is you want more of in your life that you're focusing on is what you will draw into your life. And money may be a piece of that. It may come along with that as you explore new possibilities for business and expand here and think, oh, I could be doing this over here. But your life is very different if your focus is only, I want more money.
Hmm.
And so I think that as we see that as a piece of it, I'm not opposed to money at all. You know that I kind of like money, but I
Yeah,
also like
same.
what I do with that. And it's not the money itself. I have no desire to pass away with I'm an investment fund full of money.
Same,
I
same.
trust. I've taken care of my kids. I have plans for my grandkids. I have plans for my charities. And other than that, I'm okay if I bounce my last check. You know how that always saying go.
Yep, yep,
I'll make sure to my
100%.
kids it's a small one.
Well, I think the difference is you're co-creating with money. You obviously have
Yeah,
a beautiful relationship with money, right?
I do. I think a very abundant one. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, and I think people are like, well, it's okay to want more money. Totally. Look at what you can do with more
yeah,
money, right?
yeah.
You can co-create, and you're right, though it's not just about money, but when it brings people together too in a lot of ways. You're gathering at service events or just, I don't know. I You're right. It's not just about money. One thing about net worth that I really have thought a lot about over the last 3 years during our COVID years was, especially in the beginning, and you probably felt this too, like all this money doesn't matter at all
Yeah.
because now I don't know what's going to happen. And so there was a moment, especially in the first 45 days of the pandemic, where I was like, what is most important to me? What is my net worth? And
Yeah.
it was my network of friends and people. So I remember Kelly and I sitting there talking, like not knowing what that meant in the very beginning, very unsure. And so what we did is we started calling our friends and clients and just be like, how are you? How are you
Uh,
doing? Right? And and because that really was what we saw as our net worth, was our people and our family and just our hearts that we had connected with over the years. So you're right. I mean, it's not just about money. It's about, look at what we've gained from the money that we've made, just like how you and I met.
exactly. I was going to say, well, you and I wouldn't have met if we hadn't been gathered around people with a little bit higher net worth that were entrepreneurs in their business.
Hmm.
And that's why you and I met. But I think
Hmm.
about what you said during the pandemic, where during the pandemic, if you were asked people what was the one common thing that happened to everyone, they would say, we turned in.
Hmm.
We gathered in, we realized what was most important to us. And you did that as the first step. But as the second step, you turned out.
Hmm.
You reached out. You kept all those relationships intact. And that's just how I experienced you, Jessica, always. You're like living life with your arms outstretched and just bringing it in and just gathering it. And then you flow it back out. And you gather it and you flow it back out. And that's why I just love how you are constantly evolving and changing. Share with my listeners a little bit about what you do now.
Well, thank you for saying that, first and foremost. That is like the best compliment you could ever give me. So, what I'm doing now is I still have my credit card business and I am a coach. So, for the last 3 years, I've been doing executive coaching where I was doing mostly one on one, kind of helping executives find their joy, really, because like they reach a certain level, they have a goal, and they've hit this goal, and yet there's a lack of joy.
Mm.
So I've been doing that for the last 3 years. And now I wrote a couple books, co-authored books, one about leadership for women and one about motherhood.
Mm.
And now I'm launching a group coaching course, which I'm really excited about. And I'm doing a free masterclass on April 19th, to just talk about the 3 secrets of living a happier life, things that I'm passionate about. And then hopefully people will like what they hear and maybe want to work with me in an online
So
group environment.
can you share with us a sneak peek of those 3 secrets? And then will people give people the link to sign up?
Well, they have something to do with gratitude,
Ah,
trials and challenges, which is a very unique gift if you let go of expectation and lean into curiosity. And the third one has something to do with people and connection, which I'm passionate about. So that's a
I
sneak peek.
I love that sneak peek because those are all things that we talk about on this podcast so much. But to be able to go in depth with somebody in a master class like you, I think is a tremendous opportunity. You're probably like me. You'll see on Instagram and Facebook these ads for master classes,
Mm-hmm.
and they always have some celebrity there. And the one that I kept seeing the longest time, and I kept thinking it was because somehow Instagram, through their algorithms, thought this person was the most like me. And they kept showing me these master classes that were available from Kris Jenner. And
That's funny.
it was crazy because for the longest time, people, when I had all my short hair, I got stopped by so many people and asked me, "Are you Kris Jenner?" I didn't even know who that was.
Yeah,
I
you do
had to
look like
Google,
Kris
who
Jenner.
is Kris Jenner? And I was like, oh, serious? She's their mother? Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, I kept getting these things about these mastermind classes to sign up for Kris Jenner, and they put her in all these great situations and talking and doing this. And I thought, oh yeah, I do. I want to sign up for those. And then I thought, second, seriously? I want to design my life to be Kris Jenner? Would you trade lives, Mary? And I knew instantly I absolutely would not.
Mm-hmm.
And that if I want to take wisdom and advice, it needs to be from someone that I know lives it and that I admire and has walked the path and then is offering a light on that path so I can find my way.
Mm-hmm.
So I am thrilled to hear that you're doing this. We'll include that at the end of this podcast, links to, if you have a website and your social media things, and then how people can sign up for this masterclass. I think that would be awesome. So look
Yeah,
for the end of that for my listeners who are interested in that. So
thank
as
you.
you've walked through this change, Jessica, what has happened to your life?
Well, just like you getting my Wednesday Wisdom blog emails, right? Like I I really debated on whether or not I should do that, Mary, because it's like, who do you think you are that you have wisdom to share
Ah,
or information to share, right? There's that shadow self that's just like, hold on, hold on. But
yeah,
I think it's shining your light, like stepping into your light, because what we do know, you shine your light gives permission for people to share their light too, and to
absolutely.
step into your voice, even though it is terrifying sometimes and vulnerable. And even the idea of teaching people what I know is can be scary sometimes, because I promise there's people that
Yeah,
know more than I do, for sure, right?
there always is.
Always, there always
Yeah.
is. And so I think, you just got to lean in, especially if you have that pull, like just lean in and shine your light and share your voice. And I get emails every week. Every week I hit the send button on my emails. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Who's going to unsubscribe today? But guess what happens? I get
Somebody
texts.
subscribes. Yeah.
I get texts and emails that say, thank you so much for sharing this. Isaac Childs, Isaac Childs. He texted me
Yeah.
yesterday and he said, I love your Wednesday emails. Thank you so much. It's reminding me that I also want to share what I've learned.
Ah,
And I loved that and I had another friend, she's like, can I share this with my friends that I know will love this? Can they subscribe too? And so it's that little reminder that I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to do more of that. And there's always going to be people that subscribe. There's going to be people that don't love what I share. And that's totally perfect for them.
I
Right?
love that thought that, by you sharing, it creates a safe place for others to share.
Mm-hmm.
And there are plenty of people, including me, before, I have to say I've shifted a little bit now, that share from this narcissistic point of view that, you know, um, I've got it all in intact, so just better listen up to me. And they find themselves, this is how I can tell if someone's living in that space, is that there's no draw in them to listen to anyone else. If they listen to someone else, then one of the things they feel is what either one of two things: that person doesn't know what they're talking about, or, well, they're good. I and it shines a light on all their fears about themselves. So they listen to no one. They only want to hear themselves. And that person who's sharing, then you have to think, okay, let's take a real look about why sharing is important to you. But the person who shares because they feel they have some value of having walked this path and they have a light now, it's not the light of all-knowing knowledge. Their third eye is not completely shining out to the world, but they have a piece of it.
Yeah.
And what if they could shine that flashlight on the path and someone else could find their way? And I love to listen to other people's podcasts. I love to read your blog. I read people's posts that have meaning and value on my social media, on LinkedIn. And you have to just say there's a difference in how people share. There's a difference in feeling when they're sharing for the reasons of shining the light. Can I help you get through that rough patch? To shining the light on themselves and saying, look at me.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think it's dangerous.
You're a shiner of the light on the path, girl.
Well, thank you. And I think it's dangerous to assume or think that you've arrived or you know it all, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because the minute you think that, watch out, because you're up leveling. You just asked to be up leveled in a way where you're probably going to get your butt kicked. So I'm a eternal student. Like you said, I love to listen to others' podcasts and master classes and share and learn. And I myself have always had a coach. Always. Always.
Right.
I started with my dad as my mentor, right? I've had lots of mentors, but I have always, since I was probably early 30s, I've always had either a mentor or a coach working with me. Always. That's why I'm so passionate about coaching and helping other people, right?
And that's how you're embracing change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
Because we don't always have it. I hope I never always have it figured out, right? I'm an eternal student and I love to teach and coach, but I think I'm an eternal student more than anything.
I would hope that we all are, and that's that idea of eternally crafting your life. And not just a life of shallowness, but a meaningful life. And for me, that's something I really think about every single day. What pieces in my life do I want to shine the light on for change?
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing to shine a light on what I've learned, but there's another thing, a piece when I want to shine the light on a piece of my life that is ready for change and ready to embrace the change. So I always feel like I have this superpower flashlight, and I'm like, that's where I just came from. Is that helping anybody? Whoa, look at that bright light, And then there's that time when I turn the flashlight and you're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that about me. But I learned that from walking that path over there. Now look over here. And then what about this little piece of my heart over here? It still needs to be healed. And I need to really look at that. And if I heal that piece, what happens to my life? If I change, and I think that risk, that letting go of the fear of change is a huge part. We feel like we're so safe knowing where we are. We know how to live this life. I just think of all the different things that I went through, that I clung on to because I knew how to handle these problems. I didn't know how to handle the change.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I saw that it might bring greater meaning and love to my life. How do you think people get past that fear of the fear of change?
Well, I think that goes back to like being the victim, right? Resisting the threat of change or being the agent of change. And I think my thoughts around that would be, if you look at the color red, you can either see passion or you could see anger, right? Whatever it is for you, like use that energy.
It's passion.
See, there you go. Use that energy, even if it is fear or anger or just debilitating, like you're freezing, you can't even move forward. I think if you can't find like the positive emotion in it, use that fear, that vulnerability to catapult you forward. Use what you've got. Let's just say that. Whatever that energy is you're feeling, if it is just debilitating fear, if it is just that excitement, whatever it is, because there's opposite sides of that pendulum, right? Use whatever you got to catapult the change. It might be terrifying fear. So that would be what I would say is just like use what you've got, whatever that energy is, even if it's a hard energy, a scary energy, use that to fuel
Mm.
you into the change, catapult and move forward. Because what
And
we know is you got to move forward, right? You got to move
yeah,
forward.
there's no such thing as staying the same. You're either
No.
like moving this direction or you're moving this direction. But this, you just can't, even in nature, in everything we know about energy, it just, you know, does not exist in static. One of the things that I think is really as I think about change, you embrace change, you go for change, you look for change, you run after change. You're like this open book, just like come on, change, bring them on, bring it on. And that is a unique quality, I will tell you, Jessica,
Mm.
because not a lot of people have that. But what motivates some people to change, I just change that to some to maybe a lot,
Mm-hmm.
is that the pain of where they are becomes so great that the fear of changing becomes small.
Yeah.
And sometimes that changes. For me, that was my big fear, my big change. I was always afraid of changing and finding my best self because I was afraid I would fail. I was afraid I wouldn't know that path. Whatever was happening here, I at least had developed the skills to handle this crap. I might not have it over there. And
Yeah.
then finally, the pain of staying stuck
Mm-hmm.
became so great for me that then I embraced change.
Yeah.
So, those people who are stuck right now, those people who are stuck in fear of change, I think those are the people I'd like to wrap in my arms and just lift them up and encourage them. So what are your encouraging words to that? What has it done for your life to embrace change?
You know, it's just created so much love and light in my life and the people in my life through all those
Mm.
changes. You know, I mean, I've watched people, even my daughter when she was her suicide attempt and her suicide ideation. And I
Mm.
mean, I had to watch her. There was nothing I could do to help her through that change other than just love and compassion and acceptance for where she was at. I knew that she had to hit her bottom to find that change. And she's hit that bottom several times since. Right now, she's doing wonderful. But I think that sometimes you have to reach your bottom. Like you said, you got to have enough pain to say, I don't want this pain anymore. I want something different. Maybe you don't know how to move out of that pain and change because it's all you know. It's all you know. Like watching somebody struggle with suicide ideation or depression and anxiety, some kind of mental illness, mental health, it's hard. It's hard to watch them go through that. Like, so just holding space for them to decide when it is that they want to change and letting them know that it's perfect exactly as you choose it. And
Mhm.
if you still want to stay in that really low hole for a while, then obviously you have something more to learn there.
Ah.
You know, I really went through a lot with her and just be like, she has more to learn there. Even when she would come up and do great, maybe 2 years later, she would go back down. And she would even say to me, Mom, I don't want to feel this way. I'm like, lean into it, babe. You got more to learn there. You
Mm.
got more to learn there. When you're ready to change, you'll know. You'll know when you're ready for change.
Yeah. I think one of the best things we can do for people who are in that space is to create a visual for them of this safety net underneath them. And sometimes that's all you are. You sometimes can't stop the jump, you can't stop the direction, but you can let them know that you are their safety net and that you're there. You're always there. You will always be there to catch them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I offer to people who I feel are in that space. I've got you. I'm holding you. I'm here. I've embraced you in my love. You can fall back on me when you need to. I'm here for you. And there are times when that's all we can offer.
Well,
All
yeah,
we
that's the
can offer.
beautiful gift you give, right? Is meeting them where they're at.
Yeah.
meeting them where they're at. So I love that you said that, because that is all you can give them, is I'm just going to meet you where you're at. I never really understood Winnie the Pooh when I was younger. I don't get this cartoon. But now, like, it's such a profound, like,
Yeah.
storyline, where he would just come sit with Eeyore when he was having those days. Like, and
Yeah.
Eeyore would be like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm just here with you. I'm just going to sit here with you. I'm not doing anything other than being here with you," which is exactly like the biggest gift we can give, is just, I'm I'm here for you when you're ready, and whatever it is you need. If it's nothing, I got that too. We'll just be here. We'll just be here in this space of unknowingness together, you know?
That character, Winnie the Pooh, I always loved Winnie the Pooh. I didn't know why until later, much later in my life, when I was reading it to my grandchildren
Mm-hmm.
and began to realize that the characteristic about Winnie the Pooh that I loved the most was that he was completely non-judgment.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't ever judge anyone or even himself. Even when he would just be all about getting the honey or get his butt stuck in the hole or whatever it was. Oh, bother, let's do this. Okay, but then he would just solve the problem. He would just
Mm-hmm.
work through it. And he saw all of his people who were very judgmental. Look at Rabbit. Oh my goodness, Rabbit. Sometimes I feel like I've been Rabbit, but I love just sitting and being Winnie and just loving unconditionally without judgment. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So before we close today, Jessica, I want to just let my listeners know about this new adventure, this new change I'm taking on with you. How about that?
Okay.
So the other day, Jessica, you and I were at an event for a women's scholarship luncheon and helping to raise funds for college students, women college students in their education. And you were talking to me, and we always do this thing. So, what's new? What's happening? I said, I'm having the best life. I'm loving life. Love is so full. Well, of course, other than this arthritis. And then it's very evident to see as I talk with people, because I don't hide my hands, that they're gnarly and there's problems and my fingers are crooked. And I said, this piece of my life is still such a challenge for me. And just as loving as you could, you stepped in and you said, I might can help. I said, okay. Do you know how many people have said to me, I can help?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. But then as I stepped into your space and, now you have these wonderful nutritional supplements that you're using as part of your coaching and getting people to be their best, healthiest self. And as I read the stuff on it and I listened to you, and then you had me talk to one of your friends who had had the same kind of debilitating arthritis and is now, she's not cured, but she's functional and she doesn't have the pain she had. And she's clearing all of her gut and clearing the things that I know autoimmune diseases are about. So without even asking you how much it was, I said, I want to sign up. I just want to sign up. I want this. And so what's happening today is delivery to my doorstep is the package.
Exciting.
I'm so excited. And I really am. I'm a seeker of health, and I have been for a long time. I know about being active. I know about what it means to eat clean. I have been. But there's just like this element of change. I'm not sitting in the place saying, oh, I know all there is to know about that. I've read all those. I know all about that already. I'm not going to try that. I really am in the position of learning and changing. If this really can help me with this arthritis and staying mobile and active and out of pain, I'm for it. So thank you for that gift. You're just giving that right and left to people.
Oh, well, thank you for just being open to receiving when I said I
Yeah.
think I can help, right? Because I've just watched what it's done for my daughter. It's gotten her off her antidepressant medication. I've just watched friend and family, one after the other, including myself, just find there's
Yeah.
a lot of healthy people, Mary, walking around feeling like crap. Let's just say that, right?
That's the truth. And
Mm-hmm.
they hide it because their outside appearance looks so healthy, they hide what's inside. And you know what I always say? You can't heal when you're hiding.
Or they think it's normal or okay
Yeah.
to feel that way, and you don't have to feel that way. A small little change um, it could just catapult you into a
Yeah.
whole new person, you know? And I think that what I thought about gut health was I thought you had to have irritable bowel, or you had to have, gut health, in my opinion, you had to have acid reflux or something like that. Or even like to balance your blood sugars, you needed to be a diabetic. I just didn't know what I didn't know. I'd heard
Yeah.
about gut health. You know, it's kind of been the buzz thing for a few
For
years.
a while. Yeah.
But when I really learned how balancing your blood sugars, improving your gut health, and healing systemic inflammation like with your arthritis,
Yeah.
a small change can make such a huge difference in your life. I mean, wow. Wow. So of course
I'm
I
so
share
excited.
because I'm like, I want you to feel better, right?
Yeah.
You're such a beautiful human, and to know that you're dealing with any kind of pain at all, I'm like, I think I
Yeah.
might help. I can help, maybe, if you're open. If you're open.
So I'm going to get my box today, and maybe in a month or so, we'll do another podcast about what has happened. Mary's arthritis is better. And I know that the inflammation is a huge piece. And if I do eat, a bunch of sugar, or if I eat a bunch of gluten, I can see immediately the results in my hands are just 10 times more puffy, and I can't make a fist. And so I'm aware of that. This is going to be a wonderful addition to help me deal with this inflammation. So I just throw that at the end, and for my listeners, that maybe you'll hear about this in a future podcast as Jessica
Yes,
come back
I
on.
can't wait. Maybe you'll have let's say you will have a great story to share like my friend Melanie did with you, right?
I know I will. I know it because I embrace change. That's what this podcast has been about today, is embracing change. The changes that are going to lead you to the next level of your life, to that most meaningful step, that thing you've always dreamed about. Change is what brings that. Be open to it, embrace it, draw it into your life, and craft your meaningful life. Namaste.
Listen to the full podcast today and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and more. Crafting a Meaningful Life with Mary Crafts.